The factory system, railroads, canals, steamships, and interchangeable parts helped to create a market revolution in production and commerce. As the manufacture of goods became more organized, market relationships between consumer and producer came to prevail. Multiple factors, including immigration, industrialization, and economics, created an industrial revolution in America. The factory system came here through the immigration of Samuel Slater and the spying of Francis Cabot-Lowell, whose Boston Manufacturing Company was the first to open a factory that took raw goods in one end and delivered a finished product at the other. Lowell was encouraged to enter manufacturing by the Embargo Act of 1807, which halted his merchant career. Mill girls migrated from Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine to live in dorms and work a 12 to 14-hour day, 70 hours weekly, and some achieved economic independence. The bell that regulated working schedules signified a shift from America as an agrarian to an industrial nation. The Erie Canal and National Road tied the North and West together commercially, allowing New England manufacturers to move west and Western crops east to international markets. Interchangeable parts led to efficiency in making or repairing manufactured goods. The canal era brought on a boom-bust cycle, and Robert Fulton's steamship doomed the age of sail when his prototype boat, the Clermont, sailed from New York to Albany in a day and a half, a trip that took most of the week by sail. The railroad and telegraph significantly changed transportation, creating cities, manufacturing, and moving people and communication, connecting the continents of Europe and America. Samuel Morse was confident enough in his telegraph system to apply for a federal appropriation, but the financial panic of 1837 that caused the Long Depression forced Morse to wait until 1843, when Congress approved $30,000 for Morse to build a telegraph line from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore, 40 miles away. Within Morse's own lifetime, telegraph lines connected America with the continent of Europe. Government intervention supported development in the North and West, creating economic interdependence between the two regions. Transportation networks linked the North and Midwest more closely than either was linked to the South. We can refer to the chart below for the industrial capacity of the North versus the South on the eve of the Civil War in 1860. Lowell mill girls are the prime example of workers whose lives were dramatically changed by the Waltham-Lowell system, which boasted dozens of textile factories and workers earning economic independence. By 1860, a wealth disparity existed in which the top 10% controlled 38% of the wealth, which allowed leisure time and commutes to homes outside of cities for factory owners, while laborers' prosperity also increased, allowing for the purchase of consumer goods, like the parlor sofa pictured on the top right. The enslaved and working poor, however, had little social mobility, were often confined to overcrowded, crime-riddled slums. Alcohol consumption was high, and crime was rampant. The market revolution changed gender and family roles, creating domestic and public spheres with a distinct class bias. Middle and upper class women were kept away from wage labor and were to be mothers and educators. Women from poorer classes engaged in wage labor to contribute directly to the household economy. Women engaged in labors such as factory work, piecework, producing items for market consumption, tavern and innkeeping, as well as domestic servitude. Large numbers of international migrants moved to industrializing northern cities. Between 1820 and 1840, 750,000 or more German, British, and Irish immigrants arrived in the United States, 7/8, or 88% of whom immigrated to the North and West, growing the populations of cities such as Chicago, Detroit, and Cleveland. Northern manufacturing, banking, and shipping were fueled by cotton. Banks financed textile mills, cotton provided the raw material, and shipping the transportation of the finished product. Cotton gave Great Britain over 80% of its raw material, and northeastern mills consumed 67% of all cotton used in 1860. The production and export of cotton led to a 70% increase in slavery between 1793 and 1810, and within 10 years of the cotton gin's introduction, the value of U.S. cotton increased from $150,000 to $8 million. Southern politicians and writers called slavery a positive good, and many Southerners refused to even call slavery by name, titling it a peculiar institution. Northerners and Westerners would have been favorable to the system of protective tariffs and government-sponsored internal improvements which eased transport of goods to market, while Southerners whose lives were made more expensive by the tariff opposed the system.